All right, we are off and running. What's up, guys? We're gonna do a little blast from the past today. Here with Jr. Howell and Taylor will be joining us shortly. We're gonna look at the first ever month of main site programming. How much digging, Jr. have you done in the past? Any at all?
Too much.
Okay. To be honest, I haven't done that much. I went back. I don't even remember why I did it, but I just started reading old stuff. I think probably for inspiration, if anything. And it was like, what the fuck? What, like, wow, it's so different, but if you've been programming long enough or been in the space long enough, you can see how this evolved through watching the first the looking at the first month and how different it is, and then looking forward after that. It's really interesting to see it kind of play out in front of your eyes.
Yeah, just seeing how much more Greg was playing with different ideas, but he was actually doing it day by day and not like, I'm going to play with this and now I'm going to put it on .com. It was just like, today we're going to go run 20 miles. Like, I think that is in the first year of main site. It was just one day it says, today we're going to run 20 miles. And then the next day might be box jumps. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a whole lot of maybe thought about repercussions on the body. It was just more like experimental. Everything was an experiment.
Well, as we're going to see here in a few minutes, like one of the things that jumps out at me is like they started on a Saturday. That I think that's the first day of was it fast and something? Fast and heavy, yeah. And then there's no rest day for like almost 2 weeks. It's just like a workout every day. And then there's almost like an oops, you've deserved a rest day. Have some just do some aerobic work today. It's pretty funny.
Right.
But yeah, it's cool. Do you think Greg was actually physically writing the blog, or do you think he was passing off the notes to somebody else who was putting it up there? Because it feels very, like you said, day by day, someone sat there and just like pecked it out with their fingers, like, okay, that's good for tomorrow. That's good for tomorrow. It doesn't feel like it's super like organized in any sense.
Yeah, like in the early days, and I want to say maybe I asked Sevon or someone that was OG enough to maybe know that it was actually Dave putting in all those notes at the bottom. I'm
really?
sorry, not Dave, Greg, putting in all those notes and like saying, use a wall if you must for the handstand push-ups. Like, that is so something Greg would say.
Yeah.
Like, you're supposed to do handstand push-ups and heavy deadlifts, and you multiply the time it took you by the load that you chose to use, because that's like something he did a lot back in the day. And then it was just little comments like, ideally the handstand push-ups are done with no assistance to as deep of a deficit as one could surmise. Right. Use a wall if you must to scale or something. It just sounds like Greg.
The language is very Greg-esque. Yeah, for sure. What's up, dude?
What's up, dude? I got a cock pump sitting on my kitchen table.
Taylor,
why? Yeah, I shouldn't even ask why, but
potential sponsor, and I'm not even kidding. Hey, do you know who Joe Rogan's first sponsor was?
No.
A fleshlight company. Swear to God.
I mean, they probably have a lot of money.
I'd be more down for that than like Skechers or something. That's for sure.
I mean, I have no sponsors. I sponsor myself, as you can see, for my little jump ship training thing. So I'm battling with you, Taylor. We're battling.
Wow. All right. So,
okay.
Anyways.
Yes. So we're getting into, first month of main site. I'm going to pull it up a little bit just to give people a little preview here. Taylor, how much looking through the first month of main site have you done?
0. Well, I know the first workout.
Yeah.
And maybe a couple of the others. Aside from that, nothing. I've looked through it before, but I have not analyzed it at all.
I think you're going to find it quite interesting. Okay, let's look at just week 1 just for fun, and then we can just get into chatting about anything that jumps out at us. So it starts on a Saturday, February 10th, 2001 is the first ever .com workout. It's called Fast and Heavy, as we talked about. Dumbbell thruster, 21 reps, run 400, 18 reps, run 400, 15 reps, run 400. But one of the most interesting things of this all are the notes, as JR and I were just talking about, that Greg kind of puts. The notes are very Greg-esque, I guess is the way you can put it. So thrusters, a deep squat, a push press, all in one explosive movement. Time the routine from start to finish ranking is a composite of load used in thrusters and total time. So he doesn't even assign a weight to the dumbbells, but this is a pretty standard couplet, which is like interesting because the rest of this week and next couple weeks is not what you would expect the CrossFit main site to look like. I don't know. I think if you guys maybe know better than me, I think he invented Fran long before main site ever had workouts, right? Like he was like a young guy when he invented the Fran. Do you know?
I don't know the story behind Fran as in like when he wrote it. I know he said he was given inspiration from, I think maybe he was like working out in his garage with one of his friends and like he made up like this combination of movements and then named it. But I don't know how much longer after he actually said it was called Fran.
Oh yeah, I don't know when he named it Fran, but I just mean like the inspiration, like he did Fran or like thought of the combination early when he was doing gymnastics. And then this has to be his first workout he posts seems to be inspired by that being stuck in his head for however many years it took him to do this. Cause he was training athletes. He was a personal trainer for years and years out in California using this sort of method. And then someone told him one day, oh, you should put on a website. And he's like, why the hell would I do that? And then he basically started doing it. And this is the first one he decided to start with. I just find that interesting because Fran is such a staple of CrossFit and we don't see it for, I don't even know. Do you guys know when it was posted first? We don't see it for at least a couple years on main site from here.
But it was after the article. It was after the article, How Fit Are You? That's for sure. I think Fran came after that.
Okay. Interesting.
And that was written in 2003, maybe.
Okay. And the one, What is Fitness, I think was like 18 months after this, like October 2002. I think was it. So yeah, so actually Fran must have been several years after they started this, but that idea of the thrusters as the first workout on CrossFit.com is just like, it's kind of interesting to me. I don't know.
I have a question. Is my internet bad?
You sound good and you look great.
Okay.
So
you guys are choppy for me. I'm going to refresh
and
try to come back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. While he comes back, we're going to keep cruising. Anything you want to add, JR, to the first day, other than it just seems like classic CrossFit?
I do think it's interesting that if like Fran was just something that he had in the back of his mind, and obviously he talks about like why it's not 25, 15, 10 and why it's 21, 15, 9 to get 45 reps. He still uses the 45 there, but he does it in less variation. So he goes 33. So he does, he doesn't use 45 reps here where you would think he would.
Right.
He makes the sets. I don't know, like you would think if you're running hard efforts and you're doing as heavy a thruster as you can for 21 reps in a row, that he would chunk that down significantly on the next round, but he keeps them really, really close together.
That's interesting point. I think it's interesting there's no weight at all because like this is the first workout. No one knows what the hell they're doing with CrossFit. Like he's basically experimenting at this point still. And so like, as some guy going, I can move 70s. I do 70s on my bench press or 80s on my bench press all the time. Like I'm going to do my thrusters with 80-pound dumbbells. And you have someone doing like 2s and 3s do this versus other people who are grabbing a pair of 20s and ripping through it. Like there's no real set stimulus other than, hey, make sure you hit the range of motion on the thruster, which I think is like pretty interesting. Any better, Taylor?
No, but I think that's my internet's fucked for some reason.
Like the first 2 days being dumbbell is like really kind of cool. And you would not ever expect that. At least I wouldn't. Just looking at just like, what do you think the first week is going to be? Oh, there's going to be 2 straight days of dumbbell work. No way. Like I wouldn't.
Right. And then so the next day after Saturday, Sunday, very, very different style workout. And again, it's interesting because so much of CrossFit is based on like intensity. That was especially early on, like the mess you up sort of thing. And then you have something like Sunday, which is the second day, dumbbell deadlift for 10 reps, hang from pull-up bar and slowly curl body until toes touch the bar. So a like slow, deliberate toe to bar for 15 reps, 8 dumbbell deadlifts, 15 more toe to bar curls, 6, 15, 4, 15, all the way down. And then right after that, there's no real time or explanation other than you're going to hop on a bike and cycle for 2 minutes at high resistance, 2 minutes at a high RPM, and then 2 minutes again at high resistance. So this is like I don't hate the combination of all these movements, but it feels very like still experimental. It's like there's no structure or stimulus, which is one of the things that we look for in the workout. Like, what's the point of the workout? It's really hard to tell what we're trying to get from something like this.
Yeah, like, years later, you would see people write 5 rounds not for time or 5 rounds for quality. And that's essentially what day 2 is. And the whole thought of every day is supposed to be maximum intensity because the definition of CrossFit says high intensity and people don't think of it relatively. This just shows you right there that was not Greg's intention. His intention was sometimes you do things slowly because we know it's harder, and not just you do it faster because it produces more power. You know what I mean?
So it's basically a strength session, strict toes to bar and increasing weights on the dumbbell deadlift, followed by all out effort cardio. It kind of reminds me of like a typical, not typical, but sometimes seen like a 5x5 or 5x3 deadlift day followed by a 1K row. It's just a very interesting format. I would imagine this is on like a, Globo Gym watt bike.
Yeah, probably. I also find the note again to be funny. Increase the deadlift weight each set. Okay, that's interesting because now you're going to get multiple pairs of dumbbells, and then maintain perfect form or you'll cripple yourself.
I think also remember where people are probably doing these workouts. Like, boxes weren't around yet. This was like main site and the garage gym, and the person who was following an online blog at their Globo Gym was how CrossFit started.
Totally.
CrossFit gyms weren't around, so you have to imagine some homie doing this in like a YMCA, increasing weight on the. I mean, this is honestly, it looks a lot like a workout I would have done before I ever did CrossFit, which is crazy.
Really?
Before I ever started CrossFit, I would go to like the YMCA and I would do like strength supersets, like a lot of supersets with contrasting like ranges of motion or contrasting movement patterns, and then I would like finish with like run intervals. I would always do it that way. I didn't row a lot. I biked a little bit. I typically ran or swam, and those were like the 2 cardio things. But I would do like bench press and strict pull-ups. I would do like 5 rounds of 10 and 10, like 10 bench presses heavy as I can, or squats and whatever. So it's very interesting. But I could see this being done in a Globo Gym. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's really interesting that like the idea of like the 4-time. I mean, we have it back here in the first day, but it's not the emphasis or focus of everything. Like JR was saying, like do the body curls slowly. So there's no real measurement other than how heavy you decide to do your dumbbell deadlifts. And it didn't seem like that was a major focus or something he was concerned with. Just do this as well as you can do it. Even has the note about doing the deadlifts well, and like you'll be fine with the result if you just do it as well as you can. It's just kind of interesting.
And how long would this take? Like today, for example, if I were to do this workout, and let's just say at like typical weights. So let's say I went like, I'm at a Globo Gym and I do 10 dumbbell deadlifts with 50 pounders, and then I do 15 strict toes to bar. So like I could do 1 round unbroken, then I'm going 60s maybe. And then I'm maybe doing the second round of strict toes to bar unbroken. And that's probably already, I'm at like 3 to 4 minutes. And then let's go 70s, not too crazy. And then probably breaking the 3rd set or resting long enough to do them unbroken. And now I'm at 7 minutes. And then so maybe 10 minutes to do that first part at best. And then 6 minutes on the bike at a
yeah. It also depends. Pace. It depends on how much you want to emphasize the curl of the toe to bar, right? You could make each rep 5 seconds if you wanted to, and really make this a super gymnasty, like very challenging midline workout. And then the dumbbells on the deadlifts become very secondary. So it just depends on what you want to get out of it, I think.
Love it.
All right. Clang and bang. Frame was born when Greg was trying to mimic a gymnastics routine. Yep, I think you're right. He tried to match the same time domain. What's up, Jonathan? Just say hi to everyone real quick. Augustus, Gus, if you will. Greg Seed. Welcome, Taylor. What's up, Corey? All right, we'll keep rolling here. Okay, so we have a day where it's like very high intensity. At least seems like that was the focus. Then you have a day where you're trying to slow things down, probably go heavy on the deadlifts, and then have some intervals like you were saying on the bike. And now Monday, 3rd day in a row, simple yet elegant whole body circuit, 30 reps of 20-pound medicine ball squats. and then 30 reps of assisted pull-ups with half your body weight as assistance. Repeat at 25, 25, 20, 20, 15, 15, 10, 10. Total 5 rotations. Record and report your total time for all 5. Fastest time takes it. What do you guys think about that?
It's so clearly written for like a Globo gym. Like think of those pull-up assisted, those assisted
machines?
pull-ups. Yeah, like that's 100%
like-
how you're going to do that workout. That's so
Definitely,
cool.
it's definitely a gravitron. That's what it's called. It's supposed to be a gravitron machine, which is
Yeah.
wild to think about.
Yeah, that's so funny that that's built in. I actually have one of those at my North Shore gym,
That's funny.
but I don't use it that much. We're going to keep cruising just to get an idea of the whole week. So I think this point is interesting too. Tuesday, 4 days in a row now. First time we see a warm-up built in. And before we get into this, do you think there's a reason there's never, other than this, been warm-ups like used on .com really ever? It's always just like the meat potatoes workout, go get it, post your time and score in the comments. I have never really seen much emphasis on the warm-up. There's been plenty of CrossFit Journal articles about how to warm up and stuff like that. But why do you think they kind of de-emphasize that as much as just like putting the workout out there and being like, go get it?
I don't know. I don't even know that I would say they de-emphasize it. What I guess the first thing that comes to my mind is for a lot of athletes, a warm-up is a very unique to them thing. How you like to warm up, what joints take the longest to warm up a range of motion, what muscles are the tightest, etc. What do you have going on? But beyond that, I think their desire, or Greg's desire, for the workout to be the focus and for people to see what the meat and potatoes is. I don't think he wants it lost in the I don't know, amount of information that you would see if you had a warm up then cool down. He just wants people to see the workout. The way they write workouts on main site, or when CrossFit was being established, is it's so completely contrarian and different to everything else.
Yeah.
He wants people to just see that and be like, oh shit. I don't think he wants it lost in the sauce, I guess, of a warm up and cool down. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, let me follow up with this then. Like for an affiliate class, which is obviously whatever, 6 years after this is put out, this style of training, do you like having a warm-up programmed for your class that everyone does? Or do you like having like some CrossFit gyms, I've been to some, that have the athletes like do their own warm-up like 10 minutes before class, and they come to class and they do class. Some prescribe one. Like how do you recommend doing a warm-up for a whole group if you were going to prescribe something as opposed to just like letting people do their own thing here? Do you like, because you kind of said it's an individual journey?
So I personally am way more towards the side of a prescribed warm-up for a class setting. That being said, where I offer room for flexibility, or like room for flexibility, is where coaches put their own twist on a prescribed warm-up. I write the warm-ups and cooldowns for all of our classes and our workouts. And when I write them, I'm thinking, okay, this is how I would most like to warm up, how most people would like to warm up, what I think is the most effective way to warm up for this workout. And if a coach has something different or a little twist they want to put on it, or they want to do their own thing and they have that depth of knowledge to take everybody through a different warm-up, great. But I don't like to give my athletes in a class setting free reign to do whatever they want for the warm-up.
Yeah, because they probably won't warm up.
There's a lot of teaching. Also, I think there's a lot of teaching that can happen in a warm-up. And so I try to use that time effectively there as well.
Yeah. JR, I assume you're pretty similar at CrossFit Crash. You guys have a warm-up that you prescribe each day?
Yeah, and typically that responsibility goes on the first coach of the day. So a lot of times the coach at 5 a.m. will write a warm-up up there. I may come in and tweak it a little bit if I think it's a little too long or a little too short, or if like, hey, maybe I feel like they actually would do better with a barbell warm-up at the end of something. I may add that in. But no, typically the warm-up is there, and it's kind of streamlined throughout the day.
Interesting. Yeah, we program a warm-up for our classes too, but I always write like it's for people who come in and do open gym. If you didn't know what to do, you just do this general warm-up and then you can get into your training. But I kind of like Taylor does, I make the coaches try to come up with their own version of the warm-up because it's their only time that they can be, other than whatever coaching cues they like to use, super creative and give their own twist on class. So I highly encourage that to avoid coaches becoming too robotic and too dependent on what's written down for them. But anyway, okay, cool. So thank you for that. So there's a warm-up here, 20-minute bike at a warm-up pace, and then we're doing 3 sets of back squats, 21 reps each on the back squat. Choose a rep you feel like you can handle comfortably for 21 reps. Look at these these specialized movements are tough. Make damn sure you're warmed up thoroughly with air squats and stretching first. Then number 2, power squat. Lower and rise yourself as quickly as you can while maintaining perfect form. Repeat that 20 times. Bottom to bottom. Lower to full squat position, thighs parallel to floor, hold for 10 seconds, rise up immediately upon full extension of the hip and leg return to bottom and hold for 10 seconds. Repeat 20 times. Super slow. Anyway, I don't have to read them all, but you get the point. Every time he gives you a different variation of this for like 20 reps at a time. And then he ends with a 500, how long can you maintain 2 minutes at a 500 meter pace average on the rower?
Look where he says to send your time.
Oh, I know.
Wonder if that email still works.
There's a whole bunch of feedback at CrossFit.com's in here, like for all these weird questions after these workouts. It's pretty funny. So there's like 100 back squats here, basically.
Hey, somebody in the fucking comments real quick, copy and paste this day and send it to Jason Ackerman. And a bag of dog shit too. Sorry.
I appreciate you took time out from battling him to come look at this, though.
He invited me on their podcast at the games.
I bet he did.
Him and Fern want to make me look like an idiot. It's all good.
That would be tough. From a affiliate perspective, like the prescribed warm-up each coach follows, Taylor points out, I think most members and a lot of coaches don't have the knowledge to create a good warm-up. Okay, pretty fair. All right, so what do you guys think about the back squat madness coming up after
you said, that's a crazy amount of squats. It's right after however many medicine ball squats.
100.
Yeah. I mean, that's a different
after thrusters too.
Right.
Yeah,
It's a different.
54 thrusters, 100 medicine ball squats, and now we're doing basically just a lot of tempo squats.
Yeah. So Saturday squat, Sunday off, Monday squat, Tuesday squat. Like you said, these are the early days, and so expectations probably not through the roof in terms of like, okay, let's see something different in terms of format and loading and implement, super different. But in terms of like the movement pattern, not really different at all. The row thing I think is cool. That's a cool workout.
It is back then. That's not cool today because you're going to be on the rower for 7 hours.
Right.
Or so.
Today, I think it would be okay. A 145, 145.
Yeah, 145 would be sweet.
But I still think that's like I'm going to program something like that.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. We're going to keep rolling. I want to just get a feel for the rest of this now that we're, instead of trying to break every one of these down. Okay. Wednesday, this is day 5 of the week. Still haven't had a rest day. Monday, we worked gymnastics, calisthenics movements. Tuesday, we worked metabolic conditioning. So he's actually doing a review, which I think is nice. He's like, you can see he's not, and Greg's a smart guy, right? He's not just throwing shit against the wall. I think he's planned the stuff out. So he's got like, short, middle, long distance effort. Wednesday, he's talking about all the stuff we've done already. And then today we are taking an active rest day. So if you perform to expectation, you're welcome to take a break. If you know our methods, make an intelligent inference about tomorrow. Hint. So then he gives all these ideas of things you should do, his favorite activities, I guess, outside of the gym, which honestly, we kind of write this almost exact same thing in our active rest days on Jump Ship. Like we're like, hey, try to stay out of the gym on Thursday, man. Like go for a hike, go play basketball, do something different. So it's nice that he thought about that. But yeah. So that's your first rest day. Yeah, you would think a heavy day is coming, but then this is where things get confusing because I think we find our first typo on main site. And I looked at this about 10 times, and this is straight copied and pasted from the website. So it's how far can you continue this sequence within 1 hour? If you can't do the push-ups, do them from the knees. If you can't do the pull-ups, do them with half your body weight as assistance. There's no workout written.
Interesting.
And I'll pull it up here. I mean, maybe again, I might be stupid. It wouldn't be the first time I've made a big mistake. So let's see here. This is the actual page, and it kind of says the same thing. So I'm like dying to know what this is. Like, what is the sequence? Anyone want to guess? Do you think it's a play on like Cindy or something? Push-ups, pull-ups? I don't even know. But then there'd be more squats. Anyway, there's no workout on that day because no one emailed feedback@CrossFit.com and told them to fix it.
I think it might. I think it might be 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 of push-ups and pull-ups, and how far can you get in an hour? Just death by just adding one of each every time.
Or
Going
5,
back and
10, 15.
Going back and forth, you think, between like push-ups, then pull-ups, then push-ups, then pull-ups?
No, I would think like 1 + 1 in the first minute, and 2 + 2, 3 + 3, 4 + 4, 5 + 5.
Oh, within a minute.
But for a lot of people, that's probably not even 20. Like that's not
right.
That's not possible for 20. So maybe it's like an alternating minute 1, minute 2. But I don't know. You don't see any minute 1, minute 2 stuff for a long time.
Right.
On main site.
Right. It's fun to infer what we think Greg could have meant with that, though. All right. So anyway, so there's a little typo there. We don't know what he's looking for, but we'll go back to the rest of it. So your heavy day, like you had said, is coming. You were right. So on Friday, the last day, 7 days, we have find your best back squat at 5-3 and 1, deadlift 5-3 and 1, and bench press at 5-3 and 1, which is, I think, cool and challenging if you have experience in how to like pace this. You obviously can't get a true 5 rep, a true 3 rep, and a true 1 rep, especially on 3 different lifts. But I think it's kind of an interesting way to lift. I actually like structures like this even today.
This also seems just so contrarian to like the typical red shirt. You don't need more. You need to do it harder. Like doing a 5-3-1 back squat, that's one workout. Doing a 5-3-1 deadlift.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck, that could even be 3 workouts. It's just, anyways, I'm so angry at that whole conversation. I just think there's a lot more nuance to it than just yes or no. But anyways, if you just take this into context, this back squat, deadlift, bench press, that is a jam-packed workout. And to do that properly, to do it in an hour,
that's like 90 minutes easy.
Right. Yeah.
I do think, though, I like the concept of for one lift anyway, a 5-3-1. It allows people to kind of decide what they want their limiter to be before they move to the next sequence of reps or the next scheme. Like I like people, and I actually did something like this with a 5 rep and a 1 rep recently. So I made people stick with 5s to really make sure they're warm and get heavy, and then had them take a few shots at 1 rep to see kind of what their jump would be after that. So I think it's a kind of interesting concept, but to do 9, essentially trying to find 9 recorded lifts is really, really a lot in one day. But okay. All right. So next week,
and this is really interesting too. I mean, he tells you to do this a lot in the first few years of main site, but a lot of us, especially in the competitive space, would say that body weight asterisks on workouts are like, this is not a sport of body weight. Like we don't need to take body weight into consideration. But oftentimes on main site, like on that last workout, he has something that says divide by body weight. So it's right. It's very much this pound for pound, how fast you do something compared to the guy that does it slower, you get rewarded or punished for, like per repetition, not just like for total time. So it's just interesting that he kind of thought that was something good to bring to light. Like, hey, this guy that's 120 pounds is pulling this on the rower versus this guy that's 200 pounds is pulling this on the rower. So we should do something to kind of normalize it, because the bigger, stronger guy is always going to win.
That's true. And so for especially on a machine, but also like the half body weight with the pull-ups and everything else. But you notice nowhere in here yet is there a single prescribed weight other than the medicine ball. There's a 20-pound med ball, but there's no prescribed weight. So he hasn't got to the point yet of his process where he's like really dialed in his stimulus on each of these workouts. He likes the idea of the movements. He likes the idea of coupling the movements, putting them together, but he hasn't got to the point where he's like completely locked in what he wants these weights to be and how he wants that to feel like. So he's kind of leaving it open to, hey, if you're about this big, this is about where I think you should be if your fitness is good enough to do this. And so that's why I think he's using it now. And we still see it in, like, you know, Linda. He thinks it's important in Linda too. And that's an early benchmark. But I think it's an interesting way to do, try to find a stimulus, because I think it is still, you could still use something like that and have it be applicable today, even though it doesn't apply to the sport side of things. We don't care results wise, but it is a good way to get people closer to a stimulus than just not including anything at all. But that's my take. All right, next week 2, Saturday, rope climbs and push-ups. Again, depending on what he wanted us to do on Thursday with the push-ups, which we'll never know, we have another shitload of pushing from the floor. Rope climb and push-up nonstop for 30 minutes. The objective here is to climb and push until you can do neither. Thoroughly exhaust both functions within 30 minutes. Report the details of the experience both today and the effects tomorrow. And the rope is 13 feet. So I wonder where he was training at that he decided 13 feet was the rope he had that he was going to use to program. Thoughts on push-ups and rope climbs for 30 minutes?
And it was absolutely not the use of legs. It was climb the rope, probably starting at a seated position, because for the first, I don't know how long, whenever rope climb is programmed, it's either ideally you're seated in an L position, lowering and raising without the use of the legs, or it's that double up that kind of comes on in the later years where you're supposed to do multiple reps at a time without stopping. So like, I think we can assume that this was not meant to be using your legs at any time.
I didn't even think of that. That's interesting. That makes this way different than the way I was thinking of it. So day 7, you'd warm up 15, squat 15, deadlift 15, bench 15. I mean, there wouldn't be enough time, I don't think.
That's not a class workout.
No. Let's see. Matt Souza wants to know, he's doing Murph this year with a vest, if he can still use bands on his pull-ups. Yeah. Wear a 40-pound vest and just grab the super thick ones, but make sure you just take your photo while you're doing like a jog or something for Instagram. I like this. Just go till you die. Yeah, pretty much, to thorough exhaustion. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially JR, if you're right, because the rope climb will be just a self-governor completely. At a certain point, you'll quit because your hands hurt or your pull's gone. Like, you'll just be done. And you can do that well under 30 minutes on a rope. That's really interesting. I just assumed people were going to be climbing nonstop with their legs until their biceps and grip just blew up completely. But this is totally different thinking about it like that.
Taylor, when you were training for like SEAL type stuff and you were just doing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of push-ups and pull-ups, would you do something just like, hey, I'm going to do 10 sets of strict pull-up to failure, I'm going to rest until needed, and then I'm going to do push-ups to failure, and I'm going to rest as needed, and I'm just going to do that 5 times, like, so I can see if I can get to 30 or 40 or 50, and then you just kind of try to get as close as you can to the preceding set every time, where you're just literally doing both movements to failure, and that's your workout.
No, I would do more AMRAP windows, because their test was like AMRAP in a 2-minute window. And the strict pull-up was max unbroken. But there were like well-established benchmarks of, if you can do this many, you're solid. Whereas the run and swim were a lot harder. So most of my time was spent like on running and swimming, training to like really high intensity. And I would say most of the body weight stuff maybe came more naturally to me. I was spending more time doing like, okay, 10 sets of 10 unbroken or 5 sets of 15 unbroken. So I would superset like strict pull-ups and push-ups. I would do 10 strict pull-ups into 20 push-ups unbroken, and I do that on like a 2-minute interval, or like maybe like a 2.5 or 3-minute interval. I do that for 10 rounds, because I knew I could do 25 to 28 like true strict pull-ups unbroken, and that was really solid. And I knew I could do like 75 to 85 true push-ups unbroken in a 2-minute window, and that was really solid. Whereas like a lot of I never felt the need to like, okay, I'm going to go to failure on push-ups or pull-ups. I was always like going to metabolic failure-ish on like the running and the swimming stuff. And they weight that a whole lot more too. Like if you can do 25 strict pull-ups and around 80 push-ups and around 80 something sit-ups in those 2-minute windows, cool. They don't really care. They don't even care if you can do a little less than that. But if you beat everyone in your cohort, or the people who are taking the PST in the run and swim, they like jizz their pants. They care most about the run and swim. So that's what I did. I beat everyone in the run and swim.
What was the run distance?
It was, so basically the workout starts with a 500-yard swim with no goggles. It's 500-yard swim, combat side stroke in a pool. And I think that one was a 50-meter course. No, that was a 25-yard course when I did it. And but some weeks they do it different. And if you like join the cohort who's like trying to get automatically qualified for a Buds contract, you basically meet with an SOF and like every week you do the PST, or every other week or something like that. And you have like weekly meetups or training. And I only did it once. I like joined up with the cohort. And the PST was a 500-yard swim. Then you had a 5-minute transition to 2-minute or 2 max unbroken pull up, 2-minute AMRAP of sit-ups, 2-minute AMRAP of push-ups, unbroken. Like you either break or you hit the 2-minute mark.
Yep.
And then you get a 5-minute rest, and then you do a 1.5 mile run. And they really weight the swim and the run. They care so much about that. And I fucking destroyed everyone in the swim and the run.
Nice. That actually sounds like a really great test. Most, especially like not military, but like law enforcement tests that should care about certain things like that. Maybe not the swim so much.
Right.
They don't even push tests.
From what I know, that's still like, it changed a lot. At times you had to do the run with boots and BDUs. At times you didn't. When I did it, I didn't. That was like, before I started CrossFit, that's the most I've ever hurt metabolically doing any sort of workout. The swim was hard, but doing a combat side stroke, you can only exhaust yourself so hard. Yeah. So I did a 500, but it was like 7:47, which is not a crazy 500 freestyle time, but for a side stroke, like you have to try really hard to do that. Then I think I was like 83 sit-ups, 84 push-ups, and like 27 strict pull-ups. And then the 1.5 mile run, I ran in like 9:16, and like just, 2 guys were really good at running, like on my heels the whole time, like that hurting to like almost blacking out to not let anyone pass you at like, just a very good stimulus.
I have a similar experience, not quite as intense, but when I was at the police academy, the 1.5 mile run was the test. And, I was a lot lighter then, but I ran it in like 8:41 or something for the 1.5 miles, but I was like 145 pounds. But I remember basically pissing myself after. I've never hurt so bad after crossing the line. I had no control over my like abs or any of my muscles, just like complete failure after that. But yeah, so
and on that note, like I feel like people who they're looking back and they're looking at the events that have come out, even though we don't know all the details, and they're thinking about what other 4 workouts would be reasonable to include in the first 7 before they cut people after Chad. I don't care what the field sprint is. If people run a mile as hard as they can, they are going to be destroyed doing those step ups the next morning. That's the next morning. Like that is going to be nasty. Like horrible. that recovery that's going to be tested from, it's going to be way less than 24 hours. Like that's going to be, because they're doing it at like 8 or 9 at night. They're doing the field workout. And I imagine they're going to do it before noon, at least, Chad, before they cut. So, I mean, because they're probably going to have 3 workouts that day. Like that, just an all out effort like that, and something like a mile or an 800 just destroys your legs the next day.
The hardest run intervals I've ever done, I did earlier this week, was 8 by 600 on the 4-minute. There's like this 5K loop right by the gym, and they have one of the laps is a perfect 600 meter around this pond. And I've never felt it, just the combination of metabolic fatigue and muscular fatigue from just an extra 200 meters on like a typical 800 like set count. I guess typically I'd do like an 8 by 400 on the 3 or 10 by 400 on the 3. But that hurts so bad. And I cannot imagine, like, I'm just thinking of what my legs felt like after that. And imagine running a mile at like an intensity way harder than that one time going into Chad.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of monostructural. Yeah, they're going to use that star sandbag to do something with it, some kind of grunt work, some kind of carry, some kind of whatever workout. But like, if you look in the past, you look at Dave's tendencies and you look at the history, sure, there might be a single modality, single movement gymnastics test, like 30 rope climbs per time or something like that. But there's still going to be CrossFit. So they're still going to squat. They're probably going to do something heavy. If you're going to cut people after 7 and you're not going to do like the other total, and maybe that's the movement that's not new to CrossFit, but it's new to the games. They're going to introduce bench press. They're still going to have legs lifting external load too. Not just the backpack on Chad, not just the running on the run swim, and not just the running on the mile. I mean, it's going to be people's legs already, I think, are going to be really juicy by
Hey, Seth, what modality would you call a step up?
From like a competitor perspective, like it would be
anything
specifically in Chad.
Not specifically Chad. You can't make it specific to Chad.
No. Wait a minute. That's like saying what do you call jump rope? Okay, cool. It's monostructural. All right. Well, what do you call 300 triple unders per time? Is that really a skill limitation or is that a metabolic limitation? It all depends. What is 1,000? What is 1,000 step ups? What is 1,000 step ups?
That's, to me, that's monostructural.
No, look, if you're gonna bike 10 feet, monostructural. You bike 10K, monostructural. You do 10 step ups. That's not monostructural. Just because you do it 1,000 times. What about the eccentric range of motion? There's no eccentric in monostructural movement.
I don't know if that's always true.
It is largely like 99.99%.
Probably. So here's the way I think of it.
He contends that a monostructural movement by nature should be cyclical.
Yes,
and it should be easy to get from rep 1 to rep 2 to rep 3 to rep 4. There's nothing you're fighting against to continue to go.
That's just
so I understand that argument. If it's not on a stepper and you're actually stepping down every time to stop your momentum, then it becomes more of a gymnastics or a weightlifting movement. But he just says it's not monostructural.
Here's where I'll concede. When you see Chad, you think of it in the same cohort or in the same grouping or in the same test as like a marathon or a marathon row or a 10K run. I get that. But everyone in the comments calling step ups monostructural, I want to take a stop that.
I agree with you by hard definition, but when I have to make these little groups in my head of what I think a stimulus should be, when you want someone to do something 1,000 times, you could give someone a PVC pipe and have them do 500 thrusters. I'm going to say this has become a cyclical monostructural type workout. I actually, when I talk about this a lot with competitors, I want wall balls to become like a row stroke. I want them to become like a monostructural movement where you can grab a weight and hang on for 100, 150, 200 reps. So that's the way I think of it. When you look at it in strict definitions, I get your point, Taylor, but like when I'm programming and I'm trying to get a stimulus, the monostructural stimulus becomes low intensity, high rep. And I can make that out of a lot of movement. So that's just the way my brain works as far as that goes. But
can we pull up Jonathan and then Bailey's comment?
Of course.
Sorry, Seth. We've derailed first month of main site considerably.
I pulled this up just as an excuse to get you guys on the show. We can talk about whatever. That's how this works. So continue. Jonathan, go ahead.
You go.
Isn't the eccentric on a bike? It's like if you're not pushing down on the pedal. I don't know what I'm talking about. Just asking. So if you're clipped in, it actually you may have a little bit of a different argument there. But continue.
I don't even know if it makes a difference if you're clipped in, because like on the eccentric of a squat, you are opposing load on the way down. When you are performing a bike stroke, you are pushing down on the pedal, but you're not opposing it on the way up. You would be pulling it on the way up. So it's still a concentric. Right. It's just an opposite muscle group. Bailey's comment next. I'm not a physicist, but running is an eccentric movement. You're constantly absorbing force. I guess on the foot strike, you are absorbing force, but I just don't think that I don't know.
If you box jump and you're bounding and you bounce back up, do you think there's an eccentric load to that?
There's definitely an eccentric if you step down.
I'm saying if you bound. So if you come off the top and you bound and you jump back up, is there an eccentric load? And this, I mean, there's varying amounts of this load, right? So in your
Right.
opinion, do you think there's a noticeable eccentric load? Not
As-
is there zero?
if according to physics, there is for sure an eccentric load.
Then if that's the case, then by running, essentially you're doing a slight bound each time you come down. In my opinion, in the sense the way you land and push off, if you're definitely not heel striking, if you're coming off the ball of your foot, there's a bounding effect that may have some, maybe it's negligible amount of eccentric load.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why we're arguing about these things because these don't matter at all, but
I get what you're saying. You have to
But there are going to be people. No, I think it is a really cool argument. Some people are going to be able to argue about it more intelligently than others when they look at the totality of the program.
no one's going to be more intelligent than us.
And they're going to say, people are going to say, well, look at the events. Okay, it was skewed to monostructural. Well, you can say it was skewed to monostructural if you think of Chad as a monostructural test, or do you think of a step up as moving your body through space and it's weighted? So it's essentially a weighted GHD sit up. It's still gymnastics, but it has a backpack on your back. So depending on how you classify that workout, that may change what you think was a balanced or a not balanced test.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And that may change the way you program things around it too.
My whole argument is that you would never just say, okay, 50 snatches for time at 75 pounds, weightlifting, 1,000 snatches at 75 pounds, or even an empty bar. I would still never call it monostructural. I get what you're saying. The stimulus is a monostructural like stimulus, whatever. We can both be right, I guess.
Yeah, we can both be right about that. I think because like, what's the weight, right? If you say it's 75 pounds, or if you take it down to a dowel, we're talking about different things. Moving your body in a cyclical nature becomes monostructural. It doesn't have to be on a machine, doesn't have to be swimming or running.
Right.
I get that you can do a weightlifting movement in a monostructural format. So yeah, anyway, whatever, dude. It's all good. Okay. We'll rip through this and then we can finish up chatting about whatever we want. We'll go like just 10 minutes. We'll be done. Okay. Any other good ones pop out? Monday, row 4,000 meters at a 2-minute 500-meter pace. Seems like he's kind of obsessed with that 2-minute 500 pace. And this is the second time in, let's see, 6 days that he has you row long. So I don't remember seeing any long runs, but he's really a fan of the rower. And if you look 2 days ahead as well, you have another row on Wednesday. So a lot of rowing, not a lot of running. You think there's anything about that within Greg's mind? Do you think he just values the tension on the rower versus the moving your body through space and running? Since we're talking about running.
Well, normally I would say, yeah, it's the really cold months of winter, so he probably just doesn't want to make his clients run outside. But it's California, so that argument goes out the window. And maybe he just hates treadmills.
I don't know. It can get to like 60 degrees in California in the wintertime, and people are all running around in fucking jackets and everything else. So maybe you're right.
Maybe it's
details I don't think about.
Maybe it's as simple as he really is thinking of these workouts as being completed in a Globo gym, and it's easier to transition weights to a rower at a particular section of the gym than it is to move to a treadmill. I don't know.
Both excellent points that didn't even pop in my head. Okay, so we have another rest day on Thursday. I like how you deserve a break today. It's aerobic day, and then he definitely builds in, more. I don't know if he would call it zone 2 back then, but just low intensity, recreational, keep it fun, which is what, we would kind of call zone 2 today. And we know Taylor spends most of his time training in zone 2. So what do you think about that?
That's what I'm doing right now. I freaking R'd my knee doing a split jerk the other day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And honestly, I think before we move away from the monostructural stuff, I know we've talked about how he seems to really like that 2-minute pace, and the row is long, more so enduring and sustainable. But the 2 days that he's programmed biking has not been that. It has been very 100 words of fitness. It has been very bike, run, swim, whatever, hard and fast. So bike is supposed to be hard. And then the bike on the intervals, I think after the crazy back squat day, those were supposed to be like an alternating high RPM with a low RPM. So he's still staying true to his, hey, when you do these cyclical movements, they don't need to just be like out for a stroll. You need to do it hard and fast.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good point. That's really interesting, actually. That the row has been long, steady, and the bike has been high power output. Okay, we're almost at the end here. Friday, hollow rock for a minute, lie on your back. Yeah, explaining the hollow rock. And then arch rock for a minute.
That's
10.
fun. Arch rocks are hard as fuck.
I don't think I've ever even tried one. So it's like being in a Superman and rocking on your stomach like a hollow rock, but
not
upside down.
easy.
Dude, I don't know if I even have the flexibility for that. 10 one-legged squats. I'm just trying to see how interesting. So he's even got like assistance scaling options in here, and then 10 one-legged squats on the other side. So that's funny. Only 10 pistols per leg. Repeat twice for a total of 3 circuits. So interesting. So you're going to do basically 6 minutes of holds and rocks, and then you're going to end up doing 60 total pistols. So kind of a high skill day. I wouldn't say it's low intensity, but I'd say it's low demand on stuff like your CNS and big movers. So it shouldn't beat you up too bad.
Yeah, in the first 2 weeks we get basically we get a day on each week of like clear trunk development work. So you have
True.
like the slow toe to bar, and then the like 1 minute whatever, like dynamic hollow position hold stuff.
That's his gymnastics bias coming out in a big way, making sure that that's probably the stuff he had to develop to become good at doing gymnastics movements. And the last week's a short week because it's only 28 days in February. Back to the rope climbs again on Saturday, rope climb ×3, box jumps 2 minutes. I like how he puts how many you should get here. 50 jumps at a 20-inch box, 21 dips, box jumps 90 seconds. So he's giving you like a goal number within that window. So these are probably not, I mean, there's no standard of anything back then. So talking about opening your hip or not jumping down or whatever is out of the question. It's just kind of get them done. So he's got dips, climbs, box jumps, submit time. And then I just thought this was interesting at the end. He puts all these notes in about what the workout of the day is supposed to be. You can scale, you can email about it. Like, I just think that's kind of interesting that he's starting to like, I feel like 3 weeks into this, maybe he's actually getting some emails and he's getting some clicks on his website, and he's like, oh shit, I got to explain this a little more because this is like a little bit all over the place for the normal fitness goer. And then lastly, we have some bike warm up again. Back to some squatting. The power squatting, again, 21 reps of the back squat. So this is almost like, oh, it's the same workout. Look at that.
Repeat.
Wow, he has a repeat. I didn't even notice that the first time I looked at this. So he has a repeat about 2 weeks later on that bike and squat day. Interesting. And then how many pull-ups can you do in an hour on a Monday? That's the whole thing. Just an hour of pull-ups, which is
Pull-ups the next
crazy.
day.
Yeah, pull-ups the next day after an hour of pull-ups.
Fuck you, pussy.
Times.
Sorry.
And then Wednesday swim leisurely for 30 minutes. So it's kind of like another active rest day. And in a nutshell, that's the first month of .com. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. I know, JR, you had dug through that quite a bit. When I went through that, it was kind of like eye-opening with like, man, I'm so fixated in my programming on these like structures, and I try to get creative with it in some ways just to make it fun and make it effective. But you can really go outside of the box with things and prescribe less and just give kind of a stimulus to things and see how people adapt to it. I just thought it was really interesting. So I wanted to bring it up today. But
yeah, the only reason why I went back through it is because for some reason I was like, if there was a sponsor out there that was like, yeah, we're trying to grow, we'll donate 40 Stairmasters or we'll donate 20 and you can just sell them all at the games. And they're just like, yeah, Chad's going to be 2,000 steps on a stepper because each step is 10 inches. And it's going to be just as boring as watching the half marathon or the marathon row. We're going to put a screen up there. You're going to see how many steps in this guy is and this girl is. And that's what Chad's going to be. It's just going to be on a step mill. And the first time the Stairmaster was ever on main site was in 2001. So it was like, it's on there. And then it's got like push jerks with it or something. And I know that like there are a lot of journal articles about hills and stairs, and I remember Boz saying that he really liked hills and stairs in training. And then we see the Capitol come out when they had to finish carrying the sandbag up the stairs. So obviously Boz isn't doing it, and Dave's got a plan for the twist, so we don't know what that's going to be. But I just thought to myself, like, how financially, how realistic. Obviously, it would be very non-subjective and a very just like, yep, there's no eccentric loading. You're just going to step as hard and as fast as you can until you get to 2000. It's a race, like whatever. Like that's Chad. It's still not Chad, but that's Chad. You know,
I'd watch that.
You know, it's interesting. This comment, Chad is perfectly monostructural weightlifting gymnastics, and I'm having a hard time arguing against that. It's a
That's kind of
very
fun.
it's a very interesting way to think about blending three modalities. You take a typical body weight movement that would be considered gymnastics, you add a heavy enough load to it where it's no longer just body weight with a little extra weight. It's 45 pounds. That's an external load for the men.
For sure.
And then you do it under a time domain and a repetition count that makes it like a monostructural type effort. Now, I don't think anyone who programmed it thought of it that way. They definitely didn't put that much thought into it, but interesting way it worked out.
I like that. Yeah, that's that makes me think about other workouts that could be similar to that. That's very interesting indeed. Okay, I'm gonna let you guys go for today. Thanks for hopping on. Much appreciated. That was fun. You guys got anything you want to promote real quick before I shut it down?
No, thanks for having me on, dude.
Okay, cool.
yeah, it was fun. Thanks, dude.
All right. We'll do this again soon. Guys, we'll be back with another show later this week. I don't know who my guest is going to be, but we'll make it happen. Thanks for watching. See you later.